beginning of your direct. In exhibit, I don't know if this is going to log on. In exhibit 205, there we go. Exhibit 205 is the map that was drawn, excuse me, the map that was drawn of the Crumbley residence.
Correct.
And this is of the interior of the residence, you agree?
Correct.
Now, you also looked at the exterior of the residence because you went in the shed in the backyard, correct?
Correct.
And if you recall, it's a fairly deep lot.
Yeah, it's got a large backyard.
Okay, so what you see from the street, the house is closer to the street than closer to the back of the lot. Would that be fair?
That's fair.
Okay. So it's not like a small backyard. It's fairly deep, which means that there's a lot of space between the back of the backyard and the front of the house. Is that fair?
Yeah, so there was a fairly large fenced-in backyard. I don't know exactly how big, but yeah, I mean, it was large. There was a lot of space.
Thank you. When you first went into the home, you did the initial sweep to make sure that there were no other people in the house, correct?
Correct.
And that's common. That's common practice for executing a search warrant or securing a premises.
Correct.
In the home, you noticed that there was an open Sig Sauer box with an empty box of 9mm ammunition in the master bedroom on the bed.
Yeah, correct. That was one of the first things I saw when I walked in the bedroom.
And the master bedroom you identified as James Crumbley's bedroom.
Correct.
And we'll look at, if you need to, we can look at the photo, but do you recall that box of ammunition was Patriot Defense 9mm ammunition?
That sounds correct.
Okay. We looked at Exhibit 300, which was the first video from approximately 2:50 p.m. in the back of the patrol car. Do you recall reviewing that video?
I do.
You would agree that as James's wife is being placed in the patrol car with handcuffs, James is obviously distraught. He's asking questions like, why are you in handcuffs? Why is she in handcuffs, correct?
I'm going to object to the form of the question of obviously distraught. I don't think he's able to give that sort of testimony.
Were you able to observe his demeanor?
Yeah, I mean, he was obviously wondering what was going on, asking questions. Yeah.
He was upset.
I mean, I don't really know him. I mean, he was asking a lot of questions. Yeah.
Trying to figure out what was going on.
Correct.
You watched the video more, and you reviewed that video prior to coming in today, correct?
The in-car video?
Yes, the Exhibit 300.
I've seen the video before,
Okay.
correct.
And the reason I'm asking that is because you wouldn't have seen this exchange unless you reviewed the video, which is why I'm asking. But there was a point in the video where James leans over to his wife and tells her he loves her. Do you remember seeing that?
Correct.
And if you recall, he comments, just in case anything happens, I love you, and he gives her a kiss.
Correct.
So you would agree that James had some concern that something bad might happen.
I believe at some point he states somewhere along the lines of that, so yeah, correct.
You said after that Exhibit 300 video, James was transported to the substation to be interviewed by law enforcement, correct?
Yeah, like I said, there was a lot going on. Initially, we were instructed to talk to him, and then after speaking with Sergeant Bryant, it was determined that he had already spoke with them, so he was brought back at that point.
Right, so either on the way or once you got to the substation, you learned that James had already spoken to Sergeant Bryant prior to you all arriving at his residence, and so you took him back to the residence.
Correct.
Exhibit 204 is at approximately 3:42 p.m. Oh, let me go back to Exhibit 300. There was a point in that video where James makes the comment to his wife about not talking without a lawyer. Do you remember seeing that?
Correct.
Okay. Now, you know that if somebody is being suspected of a crime, you've been a detective for a while, is that fair?
Fair.
Okay. You know that if somebody's being suspected of a crime or suspected of doing something wrong, that they have the right to counsel.
Correct.
Asking for a lawyer or wanting a lawyer doesn't mean anything other than I want a lawyer with me. Is that fair?
Fair.
Okay. Exhibit 204 is after that initial video with James and his wife in the back of the patrol car. You agree with that?
Is that the video where I was speaking with him?
Yes, at 3:42 p.m.
Correct.
At that point, you're waiting for the search warrant to be signed by the court.
I am.
And you talk to James, and you have a couple of exchanges, and then you ask him if he's willing to tell you where the firearms are, correct?
Yep, I kind of explained to him that he could sit in the car, he could go sit in his car. Didn't have to say where he was when he was talking to me, and then after that, yeah, we had the exchange about where the weapons were in the house.
And he used the word absolutely, if he would be willing to tell you where those firearms were, correct?
Yeah, he was cooperative when I was speaking with him.
He told you that they were in a gun case?
Correct.
That was locked?
Correct.
That it was in the back of the house, the room in the back of the house?
Correct.
In the TV stand?
Correct.
He told you that it was the right cabinet door?
Correct.
That the gun safe contained a .22 Derringer and a .22 Caltech?
Correct.
And then he gave you the combination, but we would agree that he actually added a digit to the combination.
Yeah, he told me there was 4 zeros, and there was 3 zeros to get inside the safe.
And it's obvious by looking at the gun the gun safe, that there's only 3 numbers on it, right?
Yeah, the dial has 3 numbers on it.
So you couldn't have added a 4th number.
Correct.
You would agree that there was a lot going on at that moment
There was a lot going on at that moment.
for both you and also Mr. Crumbley.
Correct.
Through your involvement in this case, you're not aware that anyone else in the house had knowledge of that combination. Is that fair? You don't know if anyone else had it.
Yeah, I don't know.
And James also made comments to you about being completely open and wants you to do whatever you have to do. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you said he was cooperative with you.
When I spoke with him, he was, yes.
In fact, he even commented and told you about that rifle-looking BB gun that was in his son's room and wanted to assure you that it wasn't what it looked like.
Yeah, he told me before going in the house that there was going to be that rifle that was a BB gun sitting in the shooter's bedroom, correct?
There was some exchange, and it sounded like James was going to leave the premises with his wife, but said that he needed his phone back. At that point, you all had taken his phone, if you recall.
Yeah, so I at that point did not have his phones, and I honestly don't know who had the phones at that point, so I don't recall.
You knew at that point that he didn't have his phone, based on his statement to you.
Yeah, I knew that at that point his phone was not on his person.
And we'll get back to that in a minute, because you did talk about that a little bit more. In Exhibit 215, which is a photo of, I think we call it the north bedroom, you commented that there's a knife on the bed. It was a butter knife, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Exhibit 244, which is also in the middle bedroom, is a photo of the open desk drawer. And there's a notebook, colored pencils, and miscellaneous items.
Correct.
You didn't open that notebook to see what was in it, correct?
I personally did not know.
You don't know if Mr. Crumbley knew what was in that notebook, is that correct?
I wouldn't be able to say.
You would have no way of knowing, is that right?
I don't know. Yeah.
Exhibit 245 is a picture of the bed. I'm sorry, it's a picture of another notebook in the desk. It's a green notebook, correct?
Correct.
Same questions. You didn't open that notebook.
I personally did not open that notebook.
You don't know what's in it.
I do not know.
You don't know, you have no knowledge whether Mr. Crumbley knew.
I wouldn't be able to say one way or another.
246, it's a photo of an empty bottle of Canada House whiskey next to the bed.
Correct.
You don't know how that bottle got there?
That was there when we came in the house.
Right. You have no knowledge of how it got there, who had it, who put it there. You have no idea. You just know that it was there.
Correct.
Exhibit 220 is a picture, I believe, also of this is the second bedroom, so I believe this is the north bedroom. Exhibit 220 is a picture of the bed, and that would be, is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. And that would be Mr. Crumbley's son's second bedroom. That's what it's been referred to, correct?
Correct.
Exhibit 240, I believe it's 247, can't read my own writing, is a notebook that's open on the bed. You recall seeing that photo?
Correct.
And inside that notebook there are photos of gun drawings.
Correct.
That notebook from 247, if you recall, is the same notebook from 220. If you'd like to see the photos, I can.
Yeah. So in all honesty, I didn't have a ton to do with those notebooks. I recall seeing those in there. I don't know where that one came from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If you recall from Exhibit 220, the notebook is closed or not displayed open, and it's under some items on the bed, if you recall.
Correct.
So you didn't open that notebook, you didn't go through that notebook, you have no knowledge of what was in that notebook other than what's in the photo.
Yeah, I didn't personally at that time go through the notebook.
And again, through your involvement in this case, you have no knowledge whether Mr. Crumbley was aware of what was in any of those notebooks.
Yeah, I don't know.